After we got 4K gaming on a Pi working with AMD graphics cards, the tiny community around eGPUs on Raspberry Pi has been focusing some effort on Intel Arc cards. I have an A750 and I just got a B580, and I'm hopeful that both will work great on ARM by the end of the year. These cards are all relatively easy to try out because they have open source drivers in the Linux kernel. But to test them and to get them to actually work, since neither AMD nor Intel seems to be focused on ARM support, I wonder why, you have to recompile the Linux kernel. And every time I post a video about graphics cards on the Pi, and every time someone sees my Recompile Linux shirt, I get comments asking if I'll walk through how to recompile Linux. And so, in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to do. This walkthrough will be focused on Raspberry Pi and Debian, but it's similar to the process of building the kernel on other distros. And I'm going to run the whole process on my Raspberry Pi, but you can actually recompile the Linux kernel on another computer and then move it over to the Pi, assuming you have a modern fast PC that might actually run a lot faster than on the Pi. That process is called cross-compiling, but I won't cover that today. In some cases, especially for debugging, it's easier just to do it all straight on the Pi anyway. Raspberry Pi actually has a guide for this whole process on their website. The first thing we need to do is make sure Git is installed. I'll do that here following Raspberry Pi's instructions, and in my case it was already pre-installed, so we're good to go. The next step is to actually clone the Linux kernel to get all the source code. I'm going to clone Raspberry Pi's fork of the Linux kernel. Basically it's Linux but with a few patches applied to make it run better on Raspberry Pis. And in my case, because we're going to use the Intel GPU driver, which has a lot of updates in the newer 6.12 kernel, I'm actually going to clone that version of Raspberry Pi's fork, not the default 6.6 version. When you're watching this video, maybe the default is something else, but the point is that you can either clone the Linux kernel directly at whatever the current LTS kernel is, or you could clone a different branch, and that's what I'm doing here. There's actually a newer kernel release too, but 6.12 is the next LTS release. That just means this release is going to be the main one getting bug fixes and stable updates for a few years. Non-LTS releases don't get the same amount of attention. But when I'm cloning the Linux kernel, I'm using --depth1, so Git doesn't have to download the entire history of Linux's source code all the way back to the beginning. That takes a long time. With depth1, it just clones the current Linux source code, which is still pretty big. It's downloading hundreds of megabytes of data, and so it'll still take a few minutes, especially if you have a slower internet connection. But once that's done, you'll have a Linux directory in your folder where you just cloned it. And the next step is to install a few packages that are needed to compile Linux. And I'm going to add one more here that Raspberry Pi doesn't list, called libncurses-dev. This gives me a little graphical interface in the terminal to make it easier for me to enable features for my custom kernel. So do that and then press Y if it asks, and it'll install those extra packages for building the kernel. Then go into the Linux directory that you just cloned using Git with cd linux. And Raspberry Pi's guide mentions some presets for the kernel build depending on what type of Raspberry Pi you're using. I'm running a Pi 5 here with the BCM2712. So I'll run make bcm2712_defconfig, and that sets up the configuration for the kernel for the Pi 5. The next step is to set custom options. Like in this case, I want to turn on a GPU driver. So I run make menuconfig, and then I can go in and change all these different settings. The settings are different depending on what you want to do. In my case, I want to run Box86 and some Steam games, so for compatibility's sake, I want to set a 4K kernel page size and get the GPU working with the Intel Z device drivers. When you're in menu config, you can press the / to search for configuration settings. If you're a power user, you can also just edit the config file directly, but using menu config makes it a little easier, especially if you don't know the exact names for all the settings you're changing. After you search, and I'm not sure if there's a shortcut you can use to go from the search results straight to the setting, but I escape out of there and then navigate through the kernel options. So here I'll need to dig down through device drivers, graphics support, Direct Rendering Manager, and then Intel Graphics. Once you dig down to that level, you can press the spacebar to enable an option, like I'm doing here for the Intel driver. When you're finished selecting all the options, go over to Save at the bottom and press Enter. That'll write those changes to the .config file. You can run through this process multiple times. You can run make menuconfig, and it's just going to load in the settings that you saved in the .config file. You can change things, save it, and go back out, and it'll keep writing the updated settings each time. There's one more thing I'm going to do before I start the kernel build. I know there are changes I need to make to the kernel source code to test the graphics card, so I'm going to create a patch file, just writing an empty file here, and open it up. And then I'm going to go over to my GitHub to grab the patch. If you ever see a pull request on GitHub, you can actually grab the patch for it by just going up to the URL and deleting everything after the ID, so after the 9 there, and put .patch. And that gives you a patch file you can apply with Git. at least assuming you're on the same branch that the patch was made from. So I copied all that out, I pasted it into this patch file on the Raspberry Pi, saved it, and now I can apply the patch with git apply-v. This makes some changes to the Intel Z driver source code, and those changes will hopefully help us get it working on the Pi. I don't know yet. That's one of the reasons I'm building the kernel today. But now I can follow Raspberry Pi's guide to actually build the Linux kernel. What we're doing is basically making the Linux kernel image, making all the kernel modules, including the Intel Z drivers, and all the DTBs on the Raspberry Pi. These are called device trees. They help describe all the Pi hardware to the Linux kernel. This process actually takes a really long time. I'm going to speed this section up. If you want to find out more about what it's actually doing, you can look up these little letter combinations on the left side. There are some articles that will tell you all about the different parts of the Linux kernel compilation process. But in a nutshell, it's taking all the Linux kernel code that we cloned using Git, and it's compiling it into a Linux image that can be booted on the Raspberry Pi, along with a bunch of compiled modules that can be loaded into the kernel once it's running to give it support for different hardware devices like network adapters and USB, and in our case, even an Intel graphics card. Well, hopefully. I'm going to open up another window over here, and I'm going to run btop to show you how heavyweight a kernel build is. On my Raspberry Pi, it hammers all 4 cores pretty hard, and it takes like 40 minutes. And again, this is where if you want to cross-compile on another computer, you can actually compile a lot faster, assuming you have a computer faster than a Raspberry Pi. But getting that compiled kernel over to the Pi afterwards can be a little tricky, especially if you want to add debugging later on. But especially for quicker rebuilds, I find it easier to have the kernel and all the sources on the Pi instead of cross-compiling. But I'm just going to let this run. This is going to take a while, and I'll pick back up when it's done. Alright, now the kernel compile is complete, and it just kind of dumps you back out to the command line. And I'm just going to show, for the sake of illustration, you don't need to do this at all, but let's say you're testing a patch and you want to make a little tweak to it. As long as you're not like changing the whole git checkout or the branch that you're on, you don't need to recompile the whole Linux kernel again. The kernel will only have to get the things that changed get recompiled this time. So when you're debugging, like I said, it can be more convenient to do it on the Raspberry Pi itself instead of doing it cross-compiled, because recompiles like this are a lot faster. Now, if you're changing branches and like building 50 different kernels, that's not the case. But if you're doing all that, you're probably an expert at this already, and I don't even need to say this. But the next step is to copy all the stuff you just built into the right places so the Pi will use them. And what I actually do at this point is I create a file named like rebuild.sh or recompile.sh, and I put all these commands inside it, because usually when I'm testing something, I'm rebuilding the kernel over and over, and it just saves me having to copy and paste a bunch of commands. So I put that file one directory up from the Linux kernel source, and I put all of these different options in there, including the actual kernel compile. Now all I have to do is run the script, and it will do everything for me once I tweak the source code. So this script rebuilds the kernel, installs the modules, and copies the kernel and all the device tree files and all that stuff into the right places on the Pi. Now, the way that I'm doing it, the default way here, is it's actually going to overwrite the kernel that's on the Pi right now. But you can also name the kernel something else and have it not overwrite the kernel, so you can switch back and forth. And Raspberry Pi has instructions for that as well in their full set of instructions on their website. But now I use chmod to make my rebuild.sh script executable. When I execute it, you'll see it does that rebuild, although it doesn't have to rebuild anything at this point. And then it does the module install, and finally it zips up everything and copies it into place. Once all that's finished, you can see right now I'm running the Linux kernel that comes with the Raspberry Pi. Today it's 6.6.62. It might be something else when you're watching this, but all I need to do at this point is reboot. And after I reboot, I'll give it a few seconds here, but after I reboot, it should show the new kernel version I just compiled, which should be 6.12 point something. So there it is, 6.12.10. And the kernel name still has 16K plus, but this is a 4K kernel, so you could change that name when you're compiling. I was too lazy and I didn't do that this time. But anyway, you can see that now if I run lspci, I can check to see if the Intel Arc graphics card is using the Z kernel module. And it says here it is, so that's good. The next step is I look at dmessage. This is the kernel's output, kind of like a log of all the things the kernel's doing. And I want to see what's going on. Like, is the module actually loading and did it actually work? And in this case, no, it looks like there's actually a message here that I'll have to dig into. So I will be digging into that, and I'll do a separate video on Intel Arc on the Pi, but that's basically the full process for rebuilding the Linux kernel. And before I go, I did want to mention one other way you can get newer Linux kernels on your system, at least if you're running Raspberry Pi OS. If you run the command sudo rpi update next, it'll install the next candidate LTS release that Raspberry Pi has been testing. Right now, that's kernel 6.12. But the point is, sometimes there are drivers or features you might want to test that aren't on the current stable kernel, and it's useful to be able to check what's coming soon. And if you're running Ubuntu, you can install the mainline kernels utility and choose from a variety of kernel builds, which also comes in handy sometimes.